The board will now come to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Schweitzer. Alderman Oldenburg. Alderman Cone. Alderman Narayan. Alderman Devoti. Alderwoman Velazquez. Alderwoman Saunier. Alderwoman Cox-Antwi. Alderman Browning. Alderwoman Clark-Hubbard. Alderwoman Keys. Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Boyd.
Present.
Alderman Aldridge. President Green.
Present.
Alderman Oldenburg. Alderwoman Velazquez. Alderman Browning. Alderwoman Clark-Hubbard. Alderwoman Tyus.
Present.
We have
Present.
we have 12 present. We have a quorum.
Quorum being present, we will dispense with line item 3 and go straight to our special order of the day. Alderwoman from the 10th, are you okay? Alderman from the 14th, you're recognized on the motion to suspend the rules for the purposes of introducing resolution 222 and 223.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I make a motion to suspend the rules and introduce resolution 222 and 223.
It's been moved by the alderman from the 10th, seconded by the
14th.
alderman from the 3rd, that we suspend the rules for the purposes of introducing resolutions 222 and 223. This is a non-debatable motion. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Schweitzer. Alderman Oldenburg. Alderman Cone. Alderman Narayan. Alderman Devoti. Alderwoman Velazquez. Alderwoman Saunier. Alderwoman Cox-Antwi. Alderman Browning. Alderwoman Clark-Hubbard. Alderwoman Keys. Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman,
I'm looking to see what the resolution is.
Alderwoman Boyd.
Aye.
Alderman Aldridge.
Aye.
President Green.
Aye.
Alderman Oldenburg. Alderwoman Velazquez. Alderwoman Clark-Hubbard. Alderman Browning. Alderwoman Tyus. We have 11 aye votes.
By your vote, you sustain the motion from the alderman from the 14th. Madam Clerk, if you could please place resolutions 222 and 223 at the end of the courtesy resolution calendar.
So noted.
And at this time, we
Point of
will,
order. Point of order. Point of order.
Alderwoman from the 12th, please state your point of order.
The alderman from the 14th, when you said who was introducing the motion, he tried to correct you and say that he was the 14th, said you said the 10th. So I don't want our minutes to reflect that it was the 10th because it was the 14th.
So noted.
Thank you.
With that, we will take up the courtesy resolution calendar, and Alderwoman from the 7th, you can approach the dais with your honored guest for the presentation of resolution 20.
Mr. Bryce.
Thank you, Madam President and members of the board. I stand before you extremely honored and privileged. I'm not even sure if I have all of the words. I don't think that this resolution does justice at all. It is really hard to encompass 44 years of an incredible career in a single resolution, but it is extremely honoring to stand before you today. And something that's really important to me is that we give our living legends their flowers while they're here. And so my intention today is just to make sure that you know how much this city appreciates you, how much we would not be the same I knew you long before I was an alderwoman. The first time that I met you, you were on the other side of a camera. There were a lot of police around, and we were in the midst of a protest. But I learned to find comfort in your face behind that camera, and I would know that regardless of what happened, that the truth would be told. And that's incredibly important, especially for our entire city, but especially for Black people and especially for race relations in our city. And so I'm so honored and I'm so humbled to stand before you today. I hope you never hesitate to just feel the incredible gratitude of your service and what you've given to us and to our city. And I just feel really special to be able to do this for you today. Thank you. Sorry. And Madam Clerk, I'm also a little bit of a fangirl for Mr. Price. He doesn't know this, but I'm definitely such a fan and supporter of your work that I'm a little nervous. And Madam Clerk, may you please read the resolution?
Resolution number 220, honoring Wiley Price for a lifetime of service to the city of St. Louis through photojournalism. Whereas Wiley Price dedicated more than 45 years of his professional life to documenting the people, neighborhoods, history, and civic life of the city of St. Louis through photojournalism. And whereas Wiley Price began his work with the St. Louis American in 1979 and served for decades as its primary staff photographer, becoming one of the most consistent and trusted visual chroniclers of Black life and culture in the city of St. Louis. And whereas through the photography, Wiley Price documented everyday life as well as historic moments, including elections, protests, faith gatherings, cultural celebrations, natural disasters, public health crises, and movements for justice, creating a visual record of the city that is both truthful and enduring. And whereas Wiley Price's work has been recognized locally, statewide, and nationally, including induction into the Missouri Photojournalism Hall of Fame and inclusion in the permanent collection of the Smithsonian National Museum of African American History and Culture, and whereas his photography reflects not only technical excellence, but also deep respect for the dignity, humanity, and lived experience of the communities he documented, earning him widespread trust and admiration throughout the city of St. Louis and the region. And whereas the body of work created by Wiley Price constitutes an irreplaceable historical archive that will continue to educate and inform future generations about the social, cultural, and civic life of St. Louis. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Aldermen in the City of St. Louis hereby honors Wiley Price for his extraordinary career, lasting impact, and distinguished service to the city through photojournalism, and be it further resolved that the Board of Aldermen extends its sincere gratitude to Wiley Price for preserving the history of St. Louis through his lens and ensuring that the stories of his peoples were seen, documented, and remembered. And we further direct the clerk of this Board of Aldermen to spread a copy of this resolution across the minutes of these proceedings and to prepare a commemorative copy to the end that it may be presented to the honoree at a time and place deemed appropriate by the sponsor. Introduced this 23rd day of January 2026 by the Honorable Alicia Sonier, Alderwoman of the 7th Ward, co-sponsors, the Honorable Thomas Oldenburg, Alderman of the 2nd Ward, the Honorable Laura Keys, Alderman of the 11th Ward, the Honorable Michael Brown, Alderman of the 9th Ward, the Honorable Rasheen Alderman of the 14th Ward.
All right, Alderwoman from the 11th.
Morning, everyone, and thank you, Madam Chair and members of the board. It's hard to remember when I met Wiley Price. I think it might have been shortly after I came back to St. Louis from college and was working in St. Louis public schools. And so I can't remember a time when he wasn't present somewhere. You know, I think of myself as being very busy and getting around, but Wiley really got around to so many events. And I'm proud to say, as I'm sure the other people here in this room, that this is the best person to be shot by. So he shot all of us at different places, at different events. You need a line of shirts that say "Shot by Wiley Price." So I want to thank you so much for being present. Thank you so much for all of the great historic photographic work you've done here in our city. And I look to my right and I see my other good photographic buddy, Maurice. And so I am just thankful for all of the work and all of the recordings of life here in St. Louis that you have preserved for us and for future generations. And with that, I would like to move that we embank this resolution.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 11th, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 8th, that we embank resolution number 220. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Resolution 220 has now embanked, which means that every member of the Board of Aldermen signed on in support as a co-sponsor. Alderman from the 14th.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. To Mr. Wiley Price, I just want to say thank you for your dedication and all that you've done for the city of St. Louis. You know, as they say, photos can tell 1,000 words. And I mean, you have the best photos out there in the St. Louis region, and you've captured so much history. And some of those photos, you got my good side. So I'm very thankful for all that you have done. You have been a legend in this city. You're still a legend, an icon for the American paper. And I know that you may be retiring, but so many people are going to be leaning on you for wisdom. And I'm sure the American going to be calling you back because nobody take photos like you do. So thank you for all you have done.
Alderwoman from the 6th.
I want to thank you, Mr. Price. As a former journalist, I think it doesn't leave you, right? You can take the person out of the newsroom, but never the newsroom out of the person. That's what I've always heard. And we know that journalism is incredibly important to the health of our democracy and certainly the civic health of our city. And you've been there for the big events and the small ones, and you've captured them. You've helped tell the city's story in a way that nobody could, but you've also been able to share stories that without you we wouldn't have heard, and we wouldn't have been able to have, the city wouldn't have been able to have the dialogue that it's had because of your work. So congratulations on your retirement. I still hope to see you out and around in the community, but thank you so much for your incredibly important role in the history of our city.
Alderwoman from the 10th.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I echo all of the things that my colleagues have said. Mr. Price, you know that I have leaned on you. And then, ironically, sometimes you leaned on me to make sure that look, when I looked up and I saw you, I knew I was in the right place at the right time, and then vice versa. I just appreciate the intention that you put in the work that you do. Many of the conversations that we've had, you know, when we first honored you that time, and knowing that you had never been honored by the city of St. Louis I just couldn't believe that, right? Because the intention, again, that you put into the photos that you choose, I think people think that you all as journalists just take pictures and send them over. But as I see all of these other amazing photojournalists in the room as well, they don't know the intention, the background, the thought you put into what you capture, and even the one picture that I thought was bad, I got the most compliments. He's laughing now, but I called him like, Wiley, why'd you put that picture on there? Look, on the top of the phone, right? And Wiley, I got so many compliments to this day off that picture. So your gift is immeasurable. It will not be repeated, I'm sure, but the work that we can continue to do to help each other, I know will make sure that the narrative about our community, right? I thank your beautiful wife and your sons who have also supported you in this work. I know so many times your father was probably out on the ground, 911, like he's like a first responder, you know, so thank you all, right, for a lifetime of this service, and now you get to enjoy him as well. So I wish you guys all the best in your retirement, and just know that if you ever need me, still call. I'm gonna come running.
Any further discussion? If not, Mr. Price, I'd love to ask you to give a few words.
Good morning. I thank you all for being here. I was just thinking about the first time I walked into this room, I didn't do a very good job of taking pictures because of all of this. The scenery was just, I was blown away by this room. And to stand in this room and shoot people doing city business was a big deal for me. I really thought I had come into the big time walking into this room. I've always respected the work that has gone on here, and I've always respected my community. I so badly wanted to make sure that the African American community looked like we were trying to do our business and do it with some pride. I've never felt like I needed to go to a daily. If I did, it was because I missed a check. But other than that, I've loved being at the American. I've loved shooting our people. And I've always been proud to walk around and say I was with the St. Louis American. And with that, I thank you for this honor. I truly do. I can feel my father right now looking down at me. He is so proud. My father always did business in this building as an accountant. And he always liked bringing me to City Hall. And I've only been in this room, before I became a photographer, I've been in this room maybe twice. And it took my breath away. I always remembered how this room looked. So I thank you for this honor, and I just feel so humbled right now. I really don't know what else to say, but thank you.
Thank you so, so much for your years of service. You have, I think, as the Alderwoman from the 10th was kind of alluding to, you've made many of us much more photogenic over the years, and we appreciate that. But really, it's been amazing. You know, it seems like every time I'm out in the community, you're there, and it's been like that for as long as I can remember. And so, well, enjoy your retirement. We also have an expectation that you're a stranger to us. I'm just going to put that out there right now. But we all wish you well in your much needed restful years to take a load off. And with that, I would like to ask if all members of the board would like to join over on the steps here so that we may get a photo.
This is Alicia.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I got it.
I had to move it so Alicia's heels. We learned that before.
Girl, I'm not afraid to swing.
With that, I would now like to ask the Alderwoman from the 10th to approach the dais with her special guests for the presentation of Resolution 223. Got heels.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Can you read the resolution for me, please? Resolution 223.
Resolution 223, honoring SLTV for National Videographer Day. Whereas the mission of SLTV, St. Louis City's local government access channel, is to provide ongoing and updated information concerning local government activities, services, and policies to the citizens of St. Louis. SLTV has always strived to increase public awareness of the activities of the legislative and administrative bodies of the city government. And whereas SLTV broadcasts the Board of Aldermen meetings, their committees, mayoral press conferences, city events, and activities and services provided by all city departments. These programs are also available via YouTube, social media, and STLTV streaming programming. SLTV supplements public safety and disaster preparedness by providing information pertaining to the city of St. Louis and furnishes assistance in internal training activities for city departments. And whereas for the past 35 years, SLTV has recorded all of the weekly meetings and special sessions of the Board of Aldermen and broadcasted them on the local government access channel to allow a greater number of city residents the opportunity to view the local legislative body in action. SLTV focuses on the affairs of the local government and providing transparency, both crucial and vital assets to the residents of our city. This allows them to be more familiar with the process of local government decision-making and better equipped to participate in the process effectively. And whereas SLTV also produces numerous community-related programs such as In Your Yard, The Daily Mix, Inside Sports, The Issues, In the Kitchen, and City Corner, which is SLTV's longest-running show and has aired on KNDL ABC 30 for over 25 years. SLTV produced the first Hispanic Latino language program in the state of Missouri and the first local Bosnian language shows, along with many others. And whereas during COVID, the staff of SLTV put down their cameras and became the technical directors of over 800 Zoom meetings in the time span of almost 2 years. The work of city government cannot have functioned without the dedication of our work of video production specialists at SLTV. Whereas SLTV has won over 700 awards since launching in 1991 and proudly boasts that St. Louis has one of the most productive and engaging government channels in the country. On October 7, 2026, SLTV, formerly known as City 16 and City TV 10, will be celebrating 35 years of service in the city of St. Louis. And now therefore be it resolved, the president of the Board of Aldermen of the city of St. Louis, that we pause in our deliberations to thank SLTV for their immeasurable service and celebrate their many accomplishments and honor their staff for National Videographer Day 2026. We further direct the clerk of this Board of Aldermen to spread a copy of this resolution across the minutes of these proceedings and to prepare a commemorative copy of this resolution to the end that it may be presented to SLTV by the sponsor. Introduced this 23rd day of January 2026 by the Honorable Shamim Clark Hubbard, Alderwoman of the 10th, co-sponsor the Honorable Daniela Velasquez, Alderwoman of the 6th.
Thank you so much, Madam Clerk. The alignment here today is something that we couldn't have planned. As we celebrate journalism and the people behind the scenes, the people that make sure the story is told and told right, we will be remiss if we didn't recognize our own, very own team here in STL TV and the work that they have done and continue to do for us, sometimes on a 5-minute call, sometimes even with preparation, but always willingly, always with smiles, cooperation, and pleasantry. And so, again, when Andre brought this to our attention, it was supposed to be a big surprise for y'all. So are y'all surprised? It was supposed to be a big surprise. But again, this is the unique way that we as Alder people honor and can honor by passing and voting and passing these resolutions, and then it goes into the official history of the city of St. Louis. So look at you all capturing the official history of the city of St. Louis that is now today. You all, thank you for your service, and please know that anything that we can do to continue to support you, you know we're a phone call away. Joe, you say it all the time. We are enough. We are enough. Together we are enough. So thank you all for your service.
Good morning, Madam President, members of the Board of Aldermen. Thank you all so much for taking this time to honor the staff. I cannot say enough words about their hard work and dedication. These individuals, they give a lot of sacrifice. Sometimes I know they are with their families on the weekends, but if I get a call and an alderman or the mayor's office calls and says, hey, we need a crew out here, they usually have to give up their weekends. But the one thing that I love about this staff and these videographers, which most of them, half of them started with me probably 10 to 15 years ago as interns. And it just shows that they're committed to this city and they love what they do. Sometimes it's not easy. I'm kind of hard on them some days, but I truly appreciate the times when they step forward, like during the tornado. I cannot tell you how many days they spent with the mayor over at the corner of Delmar and Kings Highway, live streaming from the fire department, going up in the Ville neighborhood with a cart, live streaming from a cart. They did some amazing work, and I'm just thankful to have the opportunity to thank them, because a lot of times you don't get the recognition that you deserve, but yet and still they continue to do what they need to do to help this city. And so today I'm just truly thankful. As someone who started here 34 years ago as an intern and going to production specialist and then to supervisor, and then 17 years as the manager, it's gratifying to know that STL TV is looked at as something that's extremely important for the city of St. Louis, and transparency. And I just told them recently in a meeting, I got a phone call from the city of Kansas City, and their government channel. They asked me, they said, well, how do you all do what you do? Because you guys have a staff that's not very large, but you all produce more content than anybody in the Midwest. If you look at our YouTube channel and the City of St. Louis YouTube channel, there's no other station producing as much as we do. And it's due to these individuals back here. And I love and appreciate them beyond measure, because they make my life a little easier. In 2017, I had a heart attack. I was on the Delmar Loop and I had a heart attack. And I was like, this job is too much. But it's because we love what we do that we get up every day coming to work for the city of St. Louis. And my main thing that I focus on with the staff is impact. Whatever we do, let's have an impact on this city. And they've allowed us to be able to do that. And so today, I just thank each and every one of you all for allowing us this time to be able to do that. And I know that this is outstanding. I know they love the opportunity to be recognized, but they also like to be compensated.
Pay it. That's right, get paid.
As members of IBW Local 4, I am truly, truly thankful that finally in this last survey that the city did for my employees, that they were finally recognized that they were being paid way below, grossly underpaid than any other government channel in the Midwest. Being paid less than refuse workers. These are people that have degrees. And I'm so thankful that they're finally getting their pay. They're getting their due. Some of you all may know, I broke down in the middle of a budget meeting. It was on a Zoom. I broke down. I was going through something personally, but it was like I wanted someone to say that my staff deserve more. And finally, 2 months ago, to hear the mayor say that they were going to look into it, and then to get the list of the city employees who were looked at and studied, those positions that were studied, to see that the video production specialists were in that was truly gratifying. And so today I say thank you to you all for all that you all do for us. I appreciate it. And also to the mayor's office for their support. So again, thank you all, staff. I love you all. I love you all.
Any further discussion? Alderwoman from the 11th.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. First of all, this resolution needs to be embanked.
Second. Oh.
It's been moved by
I
the
move that we embank this resolution.
Second.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 11th, seconded by the Alderman from the 14th, that we embank resolution number 223. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Resolution 223 has been embanked, so now every member of the Board of Aldermen has signed on as co-sponsor and support.
Secondly, if there was an Emmy that we could give you, I'm certain that you certainly would, you're more than deserving. And if we could give it, we certainly would. But in lieu of that, you have an embanked resolution. I want to thank you all for the work that you do every day in so many different places. I, had the good fortune to be a part of this Board of Aldermen where I come in contact with you all on a regular basis. And the one thing that people, I guess, don't really realize is the level of courtesy and customer service that you all provide. I have never encountered any of you not be stellar in your pursuit to get it right and to be so kind and courteous in doing that. And I'm going to ask for one more courtesy. So, you all are artists and, photographic geniuses. Please look for that lens that'll help me look just maybe 20 pounds lighter. I appreciate you. All righty. Thank you.
Alderman from the 9th.
I don't think, I guess I should say, I think we speak for all of us when I say we're so grateful for what you do. We couldn't do our jobs without you. You talked about transparency, and I often think about how we can't have accountability without that transparency. But it's beyond that. It's that I go back and I watch the meetings that you all shoot and that you make sure are uploaded and perfect online. And I learn from that, and I'm able to do my job better because I'm able to look at the record. That is really what you're doing. You're recording the record of what happens here in the city, and you're sharing that with everyone who can access it. I think it's so vital that not only the work you do, and I'm not surprised to hear that you produce more content than else in the Midwest, because I see that out there, and it's also nice to have another thing we can dunk on Kansas City for. Just again, we're so grateful. We really appreciate. We always love seeing you around, and we just hope to support you as much as we can in the future.
Alderwoman from the 7th.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I won't belabor the point. I just want to also make sure I echo my gratitude. I know some of us are on budget and are often advocating for the software and IT that you all need. And I would say since joining board, I have just been really impressed by both the STLTV staff, the clerk staff, seeing the hours-long meetings, some of which I'm responsible for. So I really appreciate y'all making sure that it's all captured, but just how much you have to be present, that you're often here before us. Sometimes you leave after us. You've got to be here when we have early morning meetings, when we have late morning meetings. We want to go into community and have meetings, seeing you all make sure it's compatible with the environment. So I just really want to thank you all for your service to our city, and just really make sure that I echo just what everyone is saying, how important it is for democracy. I think one of the best things about our system is that you can go back and you can watch any of the videos and you can hear actually what was said on record, and none of that would be possible without you all. So thank you so much.
Alderwoman from the 6th. Not on yet.
Everybody's out here.
Sorry. Hi, everybody. Thank you, Madam President. I'm going to echo a lot of what my colleagues have said. You are all the unsung heroes. It's hard work. You don't get a lot of credit. The community doesn't see that you are the ones making it happen. I am very grateful for you. I know that before I was here, I had a chance to work with many of you on different occasions, and I'm grateful for your professionalism and just your commitment to the community. I also want to say a special thanks to Andre. I think one of the things that hasn't been said today is that what the STLTV you see today really was a vision of training hundreds, probably, maybe thousands at this point, of photojournalists and videographers that have gone on to continue to do work documenting democracy and documenting life. And so your vision for not just the city of St. Louis, but for growing talent in our city, and your commitment to it and commitment to your employees and your colleagues, I think is beyond commendable. I know that you all have a lot of heart. And I know, Andre, you've had a lot of heart, even when it's really hard. So I know that I'm very glad that the mayor's office is looking at the budget. I know you've been underpaid for the work that you do, and I hope that we rectify it this budget season, but I just want to say thank you for all the long nights and the hard work and the craziness of it all, and I'm so grateful for your commitment.
Alderman from the 14th.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. Again, echoing everything that my colleagues said, I just want to thank STLTV for the hard work that you guys do. You are the ones behind the cameras that people do not see. They see us in front of it, but if it is not for you all being able to document those transparent moments, that information, and I think more importantly, education, or sometimes as the Alderwoman from the 10th say, checking the record on what's actually going on in our city is so important. And at one point I was wondering, I'm like, if y'all all up here, who's running everything, right? But there is one more individual in the back that we cannot see, so if we could just get real loud so that they can hear us in the back. And again, just want to, say thank you. Like the Alderwoman from the 7th said, we've had some long meetings, some that she has calls for, especially in HUDs. And as the young kids say, we have took y'all through there, with long night meetings and early morning meetings and having to get back up, and even through all the technical difficulties that does happen with the internet and stuff. You guys are always so patient with us, and I would encourage us as alders to make sure that we're also patient with you all and just thankful. So budget season's coming up. It is extremely exciting to know with the compensation study that hopefully STLTV will be part of that, but also we have members on this budget committee that can continue to advocate through the budget as well for other items. So thank you for the great work that you do. Y'all don't have to add or deduct 20 pounds from me, but if you want to just give me a little more muscle, I'll take it, but just thank you so much for all the great work that you do.
Alderman from the 3rd.
Thank you, Madam President. Must be in an echo chamber this morning. I also want to echo the sentiments and commitments and points that my colleagues have made. Certainly around you all providing access to government, transparency in government, and definitely being part of our democratic process as a city. And I think one of the points that hasn't been made so far, though, is that with all of the media attention that happens, locally, it's often not portraying the city in a positive light. And STL TV does that for our residents and for our city. Every program that you all produce not only provides that level of transparency, accessibility to government, but you all do programs that promote our neighborhoods and our communities, our organizations, and the events in our city as well. And it is such an incredible thing for our residents to be able to see the good side of St. Louis and the good people that are doing work each and every day in our communities. And I really value that. And I think a lot of our residents value that as well. And so I want to thank you for uplifting our city each and every day. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Alderwoman from the 12th.
Madam President, members of the board, I'd like to thank all of the members of STL TV, both current and prior. A special shout out goes to Andre because we have worked together for 35 years. I was part of the initial broadcast when STLV went live and started to broadcast the Board of Aldermen. It was a hard fight because the mayors didn't want it. And that was the first time the public got to sit in and watch actually what happened at the Board of Aldermen, not by word of mouth, not by snips and pieces, but of the entire broadcast of what was going on at the Board of Aldermen. And we were Channel 16 back then. And we worked hard to make sure that STL TV stayed a part of our, which is now still going on, a part of what was going on with the city of St. Louis. And the mayors kept trying to cut the budget on more than one occasion. More than one mayor cut it. And they also moved what was Channel 16, which was a low number, which was something that the people could find easier, up into higher numbers, which have made it very hard to find sometimes. But we continued on our path of being able to make sure that people could watch their local legislative body if they wanted to. We then added committees as years went on. At first, we just did the Board of Aldermen meetings, and we added committees. And that was something that was a fight also. But we continued to fight forward. They take the money out the budget. We'd have to put it back in there. I don't know why people are so afraid of having the truth be videoed and shot so that everyone who lives in the city of St. Louis can see what's going on. But we were able to maintain it. The reason probably why they don't make the money that they should is because they didn't want good people to stay. So we have a lot of dedicated staff that stayed because if you don't want something to be broadcast, if you lower the pay, you will run a lot of way. And that didn't happen. And Andre and I have worked together for 35 years. I've watched him go up the branches and get promoted. I know that we've always been able to call on them. I appreciate what you do. It is important that we have our legislative body and our executive branch, even I wish our judicial branch had more exposure at the local level of what's going on. I appreciate all that you do besides government meetings. I appreciate the other programs that you do. I've been over many times over in your studio off of Oakland. I think you do wonderful for the budget that you have, and I look forward to years and years to come that as we go into different kind of media, that maybe you be part of that leadership of wherever we go next. To have the meetings recorded so that people can go back and look at them, to have the meetings on YouTube. All of that is a process that has happened over the last 35 years. And it's something that is important when you have documentation. And it had to be some people, such as our clerk. When I got here, our clerk was already here 2 years before me, and other people that went before us, Geraldine Osborne, Dan McGuire, Marty Abusi, Joanne Wayne, Nancy Weber, Freeman Bosley, Daisy McFarland, to name a few. They were people who fought hard to make sure that this was set up, because it was actually passed before I got here. But they also stood up and continued to fight to keep STL TV on board and part of the legislative process. So for the aldermen that went before us, that made this possible, my salute to you. When you're a new alderman, you don't know how much you don't know. But I'm served with some of the people who had such, Robert Ruggieri, such knowledge and foresight, that we're standing here today and standing on their shoulders because they made this happen. And I want to again thank all of the staff, current and former, of STL TV, and especially I want to give my shout out to Andre for the time that we have spent together working together. Thank you for your service.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, I also want to extend my thanks to everyone for your early mornings and sometimes very late nights. I know sometimes we go into committee thinking, oh, this will be a 2-hour meeting, and then we're there 5 hours later, and we're all ready to gnaw our hands off. But we couldn't do it without you. I also, personally want to give a thanks for working so closely with my team to be able to bring us these hybrid meetings. We've seen community engagement go up exponentially since the public's able to attend our meetings virtually and don't have to just come in person. And that was a great partnership, and I know some work over a lot of months to bring that to fruition. And so I want to thank you for that, and always working to kind of bring in the latest technology, the latest things that we need to do, even on a shoestring budget, so that we can bring transparency to the public, and they know the great business that we're doing down here every day. So thank you so much for your service. And at this time, I would like to ask everybody to join us on the steps for a photo.
Cut the camera too. He's like the last one back there.
Little remote control.
Thank you.
Pardon me, Madam President.
Yeah, you got getting situated. You should say
Alderwoman from the 10th, you are recognized on the motion to adopt the courtesy resolution consent calendar.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I move that we adopt the courtesy resolutions consent calendar.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderperson from the 3rd, that we adopt the courtesy resolution consent calendar. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Any introduction of honored guests? Alderwoman from the 10th.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I have a few honored guests. One was my big brother that I was prepared to fight the alderman from the 3rd over, Vincent Llewellyn, but he is gone now. He was in the galley. My other honored guest is my big cousin, Durrell Scott. Scotty, happy birthday. You know we love you. He has been a dedicated postman for his entire career. And I told him, rain, sleet, or snow, just like he out there, we gonna celebrate him tonight. So happy birthday, Scotty. We love you. You deserve all of the love and celebration that you're gonna receive today. And then the reason I was late, I wanna make sure that I acknowledge today a few people. That's my 5th District Captain, Captain J.D. McCloskey, Sergeant Boyd, Officer Jenkins, my Wonder Woman of a NIS, Kate Eckelkamp, the Streets Department, Mr. Flake, thank you. Ed, thank you. I've been in communication with these people, and I'm going to be calling Mr. Johnson as soon as this meeting comes over. There are programs that we fight for funding for down here. They look good on paper. They sound good when people talk about them, but they are flawed. They do not work. And so as we are dealing and going into these temperatures and weather this weekend, you heard the names I named. This was a housing situation, and I named that called for the streets department, the police department, our neighborhood improvement specialists, and I'm going up to the director of operations. Of course, I'm going to be calling Dr. Adam Pearson, and these aren't one-off cases, but it shouldn't take for us as alders to get involved to get families, our residents, our neighbors, housed or unhoused, the help that we need. So again, thank you all for taking my calls and texts all through the night and through the days this week. Thank you for the work. Kate is probably still on hold for the 2 hours that she's trying to get a referral for someone to get into Gateway 180. Make that make sense in this temperature? And thank you for again, when we talk about people that show up for their jobs and do their work thanklessly, I wanted to take the opportunity to publicly thank them and everybody else that is working to help these families, to help our residents, to help our neighbors as we get through this weekend and the future here in the city of St. Louis.
Alderman from the 14th.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. This person I'm really excited about to introduce, and y'all will be seeing her around over the next few weeks. If Miss Faith Townsell can stand up in the back, she is going to be interning in the 14th Ward. When I say young black excellence, extremely honored and extremely gifted to be able to have her interning in the 14th Ward from Chicago. She's interned already under 2 mayoral administrations. She was the youngest in Chicago history to actually be in that role. She served on an advisory body as well for the mayor and the youth role, and something that I'm extremely just so proud of and glad to have her. She's been recognized by the Obama Chesky Voyager Public Service Foundation, and we all know who Obama is. For the great work that she is doing, she's going to be on a scholarship to continue the work in public safety. And Chesky, I figured out, is the CEO of Airbnb and is also taking care of her and just supporting her as she continues to explore and do great work here in the city of St. Louis and her public safety role. So, I mean, it's about to be some great things happening out of the 14th Ward, and it's going to be to the Miss Faith Townsend. So if we could just make her feel welcome one more time, I greatly appreciate it, y'all.
Alderwoman from the 6th.
Still. Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam President. I don't want to have an intern off with the 14th Ward, but I also want to introduce Madeline Keeb from the 6th Ward, who's starting as our intern, also from SLU. Yes, we can have a round of applause for her as well. Welcome her. And hopefully our interns will get a chance to work together. Madeline was an intern with the City of Olivet under their city manager, also leads the Model UN program at SLU, and I'm really excited to have her be a part of the team. So thank you.
Any further introduction of honored guests? Alderwoman 7th.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I wanted to just have as my honored guests the members of the Continuum of Care, all of the volunteers who are out helping folks get to shelter, all of the outreach workers. I know that every time it's been under 25 degrees, they've been activating, and I have been around to see some of the facilities and just the amazing, amazing operations that are going. And I even had an opportunity to go and do some outreach work with just a group of residents. I know we're about to be in a very cold season, and so cold weekend potentially, and so I know the outreach work is going to continue. And so I just really want to uplift the folks who are working to do the work, to keep folks warm, to keep folks safe. I know that it's very difficult. Some of the things that I saw are, really challenging, but I really have seen an all hands on deck kind of approach across the board, from residents to even helpful city departments where calls were made. There certainly are still some gaps, but I know this weekend is in some sense going to be a test of what's in place. And so I hope that some of the funding that's been given has been there, and I know that whether or not we necessarily get it right as our end on the, there are many folks throughout our city who are going to give their money, give their time to make sure that those gaps are reached and folks are kept alive and safe when it's cold. Thank you.
Any further introduction of honored guests? Any further introduction of honored guests? Seeing none, Alderwoman from the 10th, you're recognized on the approval of the minutes from Friday, January 16, 2026.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I move that we approve the minutes from Friday, January 16th, 2026.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderman from the 14th, that we approve the minutes from Friday, January 16, 2026. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Report of city officials.
The report of city officials can be found in A, B, C, D of the agenda and has been placed in the Google Drive for your review. Dear members of the board, I have the pleasure to submit the following individual for appointment to the Missouri History Museum Subdistrict Advisory Board, the appointment of Alex Wright. I respectfully request your approval on this appointment, Kara Spencer.
Alderman from the 9th, you are recognized on Mayor Spencer's appointment to the Museum Subdistrict Advisory Board.
Thank you. I move that we accept the mayor's appointment of Alexis Wright to the History Museum Subdistrict.
Second.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 9th, seconded by the Alderman from the 3rd, that we approve Mayor Spencer's appointment to the Museum Subdistrict Advisory Board. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
Dear members of the board, I have the pleasure to submit the following individuals for appointment to the Loughborough Community Commons Improvement District. Stephen Hunt. I respectfully request your approval on this appointment, Kara Spencer.
Alderwoman from the 1st, you're recognized on Mayor Spencer's appointment to the Loughborough Commons Community Improvement District.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I move that we accept Mayor Spencer's appointment to the Loughborough Commons Community Improvement District. Steve.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 1st, seconded by the Alderman from the 9th, that we approve Mayor Spencer's appointment to the Loughborough Commons Community Improvement District. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Does anyone wish to take any bills or resolutions off of any of our informal calendar? Alderman from the 9th.
Yes, I'd like to move Board Bill 115 to the informal calendar.
Madam Clerk, if you could please make note of that. You're moving it to the informal calendar, not off the informal calendar. Okay.
So noted.
And then Alderman from the 3rd.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to request that we move Board Bill 118 off the informal calendar.
Madam Clerk, if you could please place Board Bill 118 on the 3rd reading of board bills. consent.
So noted.
All right, Alderman from the 5th, you are recognized on the motion to suspend the rules for the purposes of introducing Board Bill 129.
Madam President, I would move to suspend the rules for the purpose of proposing Board Bill 129.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 5th, seconded by the Alderman from the 4th, that we suspend the rules for the purposes of introducing Board Bill 129. This is a non-debatable motion. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Schweitzer. Alderman Oldenburg. Alderman Cone.
Aye.
Alderman Narayan. Alderman Devoti. Alderwoman Velazquez. Alderwoman Saunier. Alderwoman Cox-Antwi. Alderman Browning. Alderwoman Clark-Hubbard. Alderwoman Keys. Alderwoman Tyus.
Aye.
Alderwoman Boyd.
Aye.
Alderman Aldridge.
Aye.
President Green.
Aye.
Alderman Oldenburg. We have 14 aye votes.
By your vote, you sustain the motion from the Alderman from the 5th. If you could please place Board Bill 129 at the end of the first reading of Board Bills.
So noted.
First reading of Board Bills.
Board Bill 128, sponsored by Alderwoman Clark-Hubbard, an ordinance approving the petition of owners of real property seeking the creation and establishment of the Kingsbury Place HOA's Capital Improvement Tornado Recovery Community Improvement District, finding a public purpose for the establishment of the seed and containing a severability clause. Board Bill 130, sponsored by Alderman Browning, pursuant to ordinance number 70333, as amended by ordinance number 71394, an ordinance directing the Director of Streets to install speed humps to calm the flow of traffic on various blocks of the 9th Ward. Board Bill 129, sponsored by Alderman Devoti, an ordinance recommended by the Planning Commission establishing and creating a planned unit development district for City Block 4022 to be known as the La Colonna Square Planned Unit Development District and containing a severability clause and an emergency clause. That's the extent of the first reading of board bills.
Could please assign Board Bill 129 to the HUD's committee.
So noted.
Reference to Committee of Board Bills.
To the HUD's committee, Board Bill 128 and Board Bill 129. To Public Infrastructure, Board Bill 130. That's the extent of reference to committee.
Second reading report of standing committees.
The following board bills passed out of HUD with a due pass recommendation. Board Bill 87 as amended, sponsored by Alderman Aldridge, President Green, Mayor Spencer, Alderman Cone, Alderwoman Schweitzer, Alderwoman Keys, Alderwoman Browning, Alderwoman Saunier, and Alderwoman Clark-Hubbard. An ordinance amending ordinance number 70846 to modify the required terms of the cooperation agreement with the Land Reutilization Authority to manage the Prop NS program, which uses funds raised through general obligation bonds, adjusting the caps on the amounts of bonds per proceeds availability per property to future bond issuance, and requiring a consumer price index adjustment to such caps, including severability and emergency clause. Board Bill 125, sponsored by Alderman Aldridge, President Green, Mayor Spencer, Alderman Cone, Alderwoman Schweitzer, Alderwoman Keys, Alderman Browning, Alderwoman Saunier, and Alderwoman Clark-Hubbard. An ordinance authorizing a first amended and restated cooperation agreement as authorized by ordinance 70956 and superseding provisions of a prior cooperation agreement between the city and the identified parties to the extent inconsistent with the terms hereof and containing a severability and emergency clause. Board Bill 127, sponsored by Alderman Aldridge, an ordinance approving a petition to terminate the Syndicate Trust Community Improvement District, approving the appointment of the Board of Directors and containing a severability and emergency clause. An ordinance approving a petition to terminate the Syndicate Trust Community Improvement District, approving the appointment of the Board of Directors and containing a severability and emergency clause. The following board bills passed out of Public Infrastructure with a due pass recommendation. Board Bill 114, sponsored by Alderwoman Clark-Hubbard. The bill directs the Director of Streets to install speed humps pursuant to ordinance number 70333 as amended by ordinance number 71394 to calm the flow of traffic on the 5900 block 59 of Kingsbury Avenue. That's the extent of second reading and report of standing committees.
Report of special committees.
We have none.
We can dispense with line item 15, board bills for perfection consent.
Board Bill 120, sponsored by Alderman Browning, an ordinance establishing a sales tax reimbursement account to support of the project located at 3942 Laclede Avenue and approving a development and performance agreement related to such project and authorized execution there. Board Bill 124, sponsored by Alderwoman Saunier, President Green, Alderwoman Boyd, and Alderwoman Cox Antwi, an ordinance recommended by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, authorizing the Commissioner of the Department of Health on her or her designee on her behalf of the City of St. Louis to enter into the FY 2024 State Crisis Intervention Program Subaward Agreement and to accept funds awarded, appropriating such funds to the amount up to $255,115.69, and authorizing the Department of Health to expend the appropriated funds for allowed purposes and containing a severability clause. That's the extent of board bills for perfection.
Alderwoman from the 10th, you're recognized on the motion to adopt the board bills for the perfection consent calendar.
Thank you, Madam President. Members of the board, I move that we adopt the board bills for perfection consent calendar.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderman from the 3rd, that we adopt the board bills for the perfection consent calendar. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Alderwoman from the 7th, you are recognized on the motion to suspend the rules for the purposes of moving Board Bill 124 from perfection consent calendar to the third reading and final passage of board bills consent.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I would like to make a motion to suspend the rules to perfect in third read Board Bill 124.
Second.
Need to
place on a perfection.
You've already perfected it, so it needs to be moved to the third reading and final passage of board bills consent.
And to move to the third read and final passage of board bills for final consent.
Great.
Second.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 7th, seconded by the Alderperson from the 1st. We suspend the rules for the purposes of moving Board Bill 124 from the perfection consent calendar to the third reading and final passage of board bills consent calendar. Alderwoman, you may proceed.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I am really excited about this legislation that is in front of us. We all work in City Hall, and so I think we've observed sometimes some of the silos that exist. I really want to give a shout out to Mia Woods from the Problem Property Office, to both Richmond from Behavioral Health Bureau and Victoria, the Health Commissioner, who have worked together. The goal of this legislation is the city actually applied for a grant with the purpose of putting social workers who can help out with the Problem Properties Division. I know many of us deal with nuisance properties and things that are issues, and a lot of times there are folks who are inhabiting those properties or other issues that really need social services and need someone to do kind of case management, referral, and that kind of follow-up work. And so the goal of the funds that we are accepting today is to provide the funding for the Problem Properties Department to hire these social workers. There will be 3 social workers that will be able to be hired, and hopefully be able to help us when we have issues at these properties, and to help the folks who are sometimes within them in need to get connected to resources. And again, I really want to thank Mia Woods and Boa and Victoria for that.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 7th, seconded by the Alderperson from the 1st, that we suspend the rules for the purposes of moving Board Bill 124 from the perfection consent calendar to the third reading and final passage of board bills consent calendar. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Schweitzer. Alderman Oldenburg. Alderman Cone.
Aye.
Alderman Narayan. Aye. Alderman Devoti. Alderwoman Velasquez. Alderwoman Saunier.
Aye.
Alderwoman Cox Antwi. Alderman Browning. Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Alderwoman Keys. Alderwoman Tyus.
Aye.
Alderwoman Boyd.
Aye.
Alderman Aldridge. President Green.
Aye.
Alderman Oldenburg. We have 14 aye votes.
By your vote, you sustain the motion from the Alderwoman from the 7th. Madam Clerk, please place Board Bill 124 at the end of the third reading and final passage of board bills consent calendar.
So noted.
Board bills for perfection.
Board Bill 107, sponsored by Alderman Aldridge. An ordinance approving the petition to amend and restate the petition to establish 1100 Washington Avenue Community Improvement District by, among other things, altering the boundaries of 1100 Washington Avenue Community Improvement District and clarifying the project, and containing a severability clause.
Alderman from the 14th, you're recognized on the perfection of Board Bill 107.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I move to perfect Board Bill 107.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 14th, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 11th, that we perfect Board Bill 107. Alderman, you may proceed.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. Board Bill 107 is actually amending a current SID that already exists at the 1100 block of Washington. What this SID will do is expand further down Washington to be able to help with necessary infrastructure and different needs that is going to go in that area. So really exciting, especially with everything that's positive going on that kind of block of Washington. Hopefully sometime this summer there will be a mini kind of food hall that is similar to like the Foundry, but this is, like I say, expanding the currency that exists so that they can use those funds to help with infrastructure and other beautification projects. And with that, I open up for any questions, Madam President.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Seeing none, it's been moved by the Alderman from the 14th, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 11th, that we perfect Board Bill 107. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries.
That's the extent of the board bills for perfection.
Report of engrossment.
Board Bill 118, Board Bill 124.
We can dispense with line item 19, third reading and final passage of board bills consent.
Board Bill 118, Board Bill 124.
Alderwoman from the 10th, you're recognized on the motion to adopt the third reading and final passage of board bills consent calendar.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I move that we adopt the third reading, final passage of board bills on consent calendar.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderman from the 14th, that we adopt the third reading and final passage of board bills on the consent calendar. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Schweitzer. Alderman Odenberg. Alderman Cone. Alderman Narayan. Alderman Devoti. Alderwoman Velasquez. Alderwoman Saunier. Alderwoman Cox-Santui. Alderman Browning. Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Alderwoman Keys. Alderwoman Tyus.
Aye.
Alderwoman Boyd.
Aye.
Alderman Aldridge. President Green.
Aye.
Alderman Odenberg. We have 14 aye votes.
By your vote, you sustain the motion from the Alderwoman from the 10th to third read and finally pass the aforementioned bills. Third reading and final passage of board bills.
We have none.
We can dispense with line item 20. Reported the finally passed and signed by the President.
Board Bill 118, Board Bill 124.
All other business being suspended, the President shall in open session affix her signature hereto again that these may become law. First reading resolutions in reference to committees.
We have none.
Can dispense with line items 22 and 23, miscellaneous and unfinished business.
We have none.
Can dispense with line item 25, announcements. Alderman from the 4th. Oh, sorry, Madam Clerk, you go first.
Tuesday,
Trying to get us out of here.
Tuesday, January 27th, Hudson meeting at 11 a.m. in the Kennedy Room. Wednesday, January 28th, Budget and Public Employees, 6 p.m. in the Kennedy Room. Thursday, January 29th, Personnel and Administration, 11 a.m. in the Kennedy Room. Friday, January 30th, full board meeting, 10 a.m. in the chambers.
Alderman from the 4th.
Thank you, Madam President. Members of the board, on Thursday, January 29th, Public Safety will be meeting at 2 p.m. in the Kennedy Room. Thank you.
Alderman from the 14th.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. Yesterday, one of the Board of Aldermen, former members that used to serve here, former Alderwoman April Ford Griffin, lost her mother, Ida Ford, who also was a committee woman here in the city of St. Louis. So I would just ask if we could all stand in a moment of silence for Miss Ida Ford.
Please stand and bow your heads for a moment of silence.
Thank you.
Any further announcements? Any further announcements? Seeing none, Alderwoman from the 10th, you're recognized on the motion to excuse.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I move that we excuse the Alderman from the 2nd for necessary absence.
It's been moved by the Alderwoman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 8th, that we excuse the Alderperson from the 2nd for necessary absence. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Motion carries very closely. Alderwoman from the 10th, you are recognized on the motion to adjourn.
Thank you, Madam President, members of the board. I move that we adjourn until Friday, January 30th, 2026 in the Board of Aldermen chambers at 10 a.m.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 10th, seconded by the Alderwoman from the 7th, that we adjourn until Friday, January 30th, 2026 in the Board of Aldermen chambers at 10 a.m. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? No. Motion carries. We are adjourned. Everybody, please be safe and warm this weekend and stay off the roads unless absolutely necessary. We are adjourned.
Okay, let's do this.